Hello everybody, I'm Gwen Campbell-Mindes. Welcome to Gwen's Bookish Ramblings. So Sweep With Me is listed on the library's website as 4.5, and it certainly appears to be a novella rather than a proper novel. And in this one, we return to the inn. We are back with Dina. Her sister is now off with the vampires and whatever. But in this novella, in the third book, there had been this implication that Dina was going to have to face the Assembly, which is a sort of a governing body for innkeepers, because after all, you have these sentient sort of inns that are like giant trees with, that are bigger on the inside and so on and so forth. And the innkeepers, who have all of these magic powers, you need some sort of governing body because there's no way, because somebody has to arrange for, punishments and censures and so on and so forth if an innkeeper steps out of line and decides to start abusing their power. And so the Assembly, while they don't have a lot of oversight, they do have some, and they had basically been threatening to bring Dina in front of them to account for her, actions and so on and so forth. However, at the end of this book, and I have to admit, I am vastly disappointed, the Assembly decides that she's been handling everything fine and they don't have to pull her in front of them. But I have to say, I'm kind of disappointed because I had wanted to see the Assembly. I had wanted to sort of get an idea of what was happening with that, and we don't really get it, so, I'm disappointed. In this one, what we have happening is basically the Assembly decides that they're going to test her right before the so-called treaty stay. The treaty stay is actually an annual innkeeper celebration of the first innkeeper treaties on Earth. It's a thing, and despite her big wail in book 3 about how she just wanted Christmas, treaty stay is an even bigger deal, at least within the context of innkeepers. And they decide that they're going to make her host the Driffen. And the thing about the Driffen in this is that they are a species that, in this universe, we are told that they are so magically powerful, and so magically powerful in a way that is an abstract, that it basically freaks the inns out. Like, it makes their magic go on the fritz, that it causes problems. And the bigger and more abstract the Driffen are, the more problems they cause. Meaning, a Driffen that is, as in this case, representative of a whole forested region, that the magic of a whole forest basically screws with the inn. And so Dina has to sort of go through this, braced for keeping her inn from having that trouble. At the same time, they have to host 61 space chickens who are having a debate and are apparently extremely violent, and a species that is naturally predatory to the point that they are victims of their own instincts, meaning that if you put something in their eye line that is like that catches their eyesight like prey, they will not be able to help themselves and will, attack it. And so you have this one who has come to visit because he wants to well, he says he wants to look into the Alamo, that he wants to look at last stands and things of that nature for the purpose of, better building up his tactical understanding on behalf of his people. But what it really is that he wants to look into how the inn has withstood the various sieges that they've put it through. In particular, the one from Book 3, even though he doesn't actually say it. Anyways, so he shows up there, and because of the nature of an innkeeper, even though they have 61 space chickens who are incredibly prey animal-like, they still have to welcome him. So it's like just a giant ball of stress, which is only made worse by the fact that one of the central plot lines is her poor red cleaver chef, which is, like space Michelin chef, that she wound up hiring him for the, big mess in the third book, because she can't cook for that many people, and in any event, she needed somebody who was a professional chef when you're going to have that many people staying at your inn who are there for, a peace conference, that she had wound up digging up a disgraced red cleaver chef and hiring him, and he decided to stay in no small part out of gratitude for the fact that she had basically given him a position, given him a chance to be what he wanted to be, that he's done this complex, difficult study, was at the top of his game, and when he was disgraced by one of his sous chefs poisoning somebody, he couldn't find work again, and so she has basically saved him, so he decides to stay there. So she has a top flight chef who is not being paid what he's worth, but he's fine with that because he gets to practice his art with somebody who was willing to give him a chance when no one else would. But what happens is, the Driffenliege, it turns out, is a young woman from the U.S. Deep South, and I don't know if the chain is a real chain or a made-up chain, but she sends ahead requesting a burger from this chain, that she just wants a regular burger combo, fries, burger, and a Coke, and he is offended by the idea that somebody would request, outside food being brought into his kitchen. And when he tries the burger, and he is of course appalled because it's a fast food burger, and Michelin starred type chefs and in this case red cleaver chefs are not going to be particularly enthused by the fast food. And Dina tries to explain that, what she wants is the burger that tastes like that. And he decides that he has to cook for this guest, and he will replicate the burger even if it kills him. And the thing is that Dina keeps trying to explain to him, really, making one of these is beneath you. And he refuses and keeps on trying to replicate the exact, taste and texture and whatnot of these, and he can't succeed because, well, how do you succeed in imitating the qualities of a machine-made burger out of the cheapest possible meat that can be found, and so on and so forth? That would be like asking a regular person to copy a McDonald's burger. How would you do that? And so he spends the entire book just in a state of emotional distress because he can't figure this out. Well, Dina is coping with, high maintenance guests who are just nothing but trouble. And it's it is, like the other books, just a giant ball of stress. Anyways, so the whole thing is it's short and sweet, and it's not nearly as high stakes as the other books, which, as I said, in a way, none of these feel like massive high stakes things. Like, they're high stakes, but they're high stakes for the people involved, not high stakes for the galaxy. Which, again, is a lovely sense that, that these books function on a smaller scale, and a smaller scale within the context of the world that these people are living in, and it's a smaller scale is nice in its way. I mentioned that with the Patricia Reedy series, that the title of that I can't recall offhand, where you get these stories that they feel like the stakes are big for the people who are there, but they're less big for, the world at large, that there's something bigger happening elsewhere. And this one, as with many of the others, it feels like it's high stakes for the people involved, but not for the galaxy at large. And it's nice. It's nice to take a break from things where everything is about, the death and destruction of everything ever, and just have the immediate consequences, but still in this fantasy milieu. It's nice. Anyways, I think that's all that I really have to say on this one. So yeah, that's everything, and I will see you all next week.